She looked at me without a hint of emotion and quietly said, "I'm not ready for marriage. If you're in a hurry, marry someone else." For a moment, I thought she was joking. I had spent weeks planning this proposal, imagining every possible reaction except the one I had just heard. The diamond ring suddenly felt much heavier in my hand. I looked into her eyes, hoping she would smile and say she was only teasing me, but she didn't. Her expression never changed. I slowly closed the ring box, slipped it back into my pocket, forced a small smile, and stood up. "I understand," I said. "I hope you find what you're looking for." She seemed surprised that I didn't argue or beg, but I had promised myself long ago that I would never force someone to stay with me. I paid the bill, wished her well, and walked out of the restaurant without looking back. That night, I packed away every reminder of our 4-year relationship. The gifts, the photographs, the handwritten letters, all of them went into a single box that I stored in the back of my closet. It hurt more than I could describe, but I believed it was the only way to move on. Over the next few days, I buried myself in work. My construction business was growing, and there was always another project demanding my attention. Every time I caught myself thinking about her, I focused on blueprints, meetings, and deadlines instead. I convinced myself that life would eventually return to normal. Then, 4 days later, my phone rang. The caller ID showed her father's name. He had never called me unexpectedly before. I almost ignored it, but something told me to answer. His voice sounded tired and unusually serious. "Can we meet today?" he asked. "There's something you need to know." Without explaining further, he gave me the address of a small cafe on the other side of town. I had no idea that agreeing to meet him was about to change everything I thought I knew about the woman who had just broken my heart. When I arrived at the cafe, her father was already waiting at a corner table. The confident, cheerful man I had always known looked exhausted. Dark circles surrounded his eyes, and his hands trembled slightly as he lifted his cup of tea. After a long silence, he reached into his jacket and placed a sealed envelope on the table. "Sarah asked us never to give this to you," he said quietly. "But after what happened, I think you deserve the truth." My heart pounded as I opened it. Inside was a handwritten letter. The first line stopped me cold. "If you're reading this, I probably broke your heart, and I'm sorry." She wrote that for months she had been hiding something from everyone, even me. She believed that marrying while carrying such a burden would ruin both our lives. Instead of asking me to stay through difficult times, she chose to push me away, hoping I would hate her enough to move on. Her father looked at me with tears in his eyes and admitted that he and her mother had begged her to tell me everything, but she refused. "She kept saying," he whispered, "if he loves me enough to wait, he'll waste years of his life. If he leaves, he'll have a chance to be happy." I sat there speechless, staring at the letter. For the first time since our breakup, anger disappeared, replaced by confusion. If she still loved me, why had she chosen silence instead of trust? Before I could ask another question, her father quietly said, "There's one more thing. She's leaving the country tomorrow morning, and she believes she'll never see you again." Those words hit me harder than the breakup itself. I looked down at the letter one last time, then stood up, knowing I had only one night left to decide whether our story had truly ended. I drove home with the letter beside me, reading it again and again every time I stopped. Her words were filled with fear, not rejection. She never said she had stopped loving me, only that she believed letting me go was the kindest thing she could do. I barely slept that night. By sunrise, I knew I couldn't let our story end because of assumptions and silence. I went straight to the airport, hoping I wasn't too late. After searching through the crowded terminal, I finally saw her standing near the departure gate with a suitcase by her side. When she noticed me, shock filled her face. "Why are you here?" she asked. I held up the letter. "Because you made a decision for both of us without giving me a choice." Tears rolled down her cheeks as she admitted she had been accepted into a 2-year program overseas and believed that asking me to wait would be unfair. She thought ending the relationship would allow me to build a happier life with someone else. I gently shook my head. Love isn't about making sacrifices in secret. It's about facing the truth together. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Then she smiled through her tears for the first time in weeks. I was so afraid of losing you, she whispered. You almost did, I replied. Not because you weren't ready for marriage, but because you stopped trusting me. She nodded, apologized, and asked if we could start over, without promises, without pressure, just honesty. I smiled and took her hand. We'll see where life takes us, but this time, no more secrets. As the boarding announcement echoed through the terminal, we both realized that sometimes the hardest conversations are the ones that save a relationship. Whether our future led to marriage or different paths, we had finally chosen truth over fear, and that was the beginning of a brand new chapter.